they have a lot of hopes, and they thought last year they were turning the corner. Even early this year, they start turning the corner, and then you lose 13 games in a row.
Edmonton chipped away, got a late goal, won the game 4-3. I felt like they dominated the third period. They moved the puck on that power play. It was an exceptional hockey game. It went over the total.
Only on SportsGrid.
This guy Ovechkin, how he was injured and missed all that time, and the fact that he's still on pace to pass Gretzky.
I think everybody's rooting for Ovechkin at this point in time, and I think he'll do it as well. So it's a feat that no one ever thought Scotty would be broken. It's going to be broken, and it's probably going to be broken because he's not going to stop shooting.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid, midweek edition of the show. Lots of college basketball to get into today. We'll preview some of the big games on the hardwood tonight, also talk some NBA. We've got our friend Michael DeCourcy from Sporting News to weigh in on some of the big games in the Southeastern Conference. Also, Simon Applebaum from the podcast tomorrow will be televised, so stick around for that. Of course, we also have the SportsGrid sound-off getting ready to preview the big game in the AFC Championship this weekend. We'll hear from Andy Reid, the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. That and a whole lot more on this edition of the show, so stick around. For the next hour, let's start off with some breaking news in the National Football League. Liam Cohen, the offensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, was expected to be a hot commodity in the carousel that is the coaches in the NFL. He's pulled himself out of the running, not just for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but from all coaching and head coaching spots. He's staying in Tampa Bay, signed to a long-term contract, and he is now renewed among the highest-paid coordinators in the NFL. This is, of course, according to ESPN. Needless to say, Cohen can put himself back on the market after the season. I'm sure he has a clause in his contract that allows him to be a head coach, as all offensive coordinators do. But at least for next year, Cohen is staying in Tampa Bay. So that's good news for them and good news for Baker Mayfield as well. Good news for 3 new members of the National Baseball Hall of Fame who were voted in by the writers yesterday. Ichiro Suzuki, CC Sabathia, and Billy Wagner are the newest additions to the National Baseball Hall of Fame. They'll join Dave Parker and Dick Allen, who were voted in by one of the veterans committees a couple of months ago. Ichiro, almost a unanimous Hall of Famer. One voter decided that he was not worthy. Everybody else did, and Billy Wagner was his final year on the ballot. Meanwhile, some potential news coming out of New Hampshire, where it looks like if you are 21 years old, you'll still be allowed to bet. But if you're not 21, there's a chance that that could change. At a House and Ways Means Committee on January 21st, which of course was this week, it looks like they're trying to raise the state's minimum legal sports wagering age from 18 years old to 21 years old. Right now, you can still bet at the age of 18, but we'll keep an eye on this and see if that changes in the future. It's possible if you live in New Hampshire, you're going to have to be 21 to bet. Meanwhile, ESPN taking some more precautions, and they're launching a nationwide responsible gaming campaign. You'll see these commercials across ESPN starting right now. One of their SportsCenter anchors is part of it as well. Responsible gaming is a big topic in 2025. We're part of that as well here at SportsGrid. ESPN jumping on board. They'll have some ads. You'll see them throughout the network. Khalil Mack, great defensive end, has decided that he's going to play in the 2025 season. He's an unrestricted free agent, so look for Mack to cash in on another contract, maybe 1, maybe 2 years. He played with the Chargers last year. Kevin O'Connell is not going anywhere. He was signed to a multi-year extension with the Minnesota Vikings, so he stays as head coach there. Also, their GM is going to be extended soon as well. Josh McDaniels is back with the New England Patriots for a third time. He is now their offensive coordinator, as he was in 2006 through 2008, and then again through 2012 through 2021. Of course, he was a head coach with the Raiders briefly, 6-time Super Bowl champion. He's back with Mike Vrabel. Also, Lions defensive coach Terrell Williams is going to be the defensive coordinator for Vrabel. They work together in Tennessee as well. Ron Torbert is the referee for the Super Bowl that is upcoming. The NFL made the announcement. I'm sure we'll dive into some of the trends, overs, unders, how he ends up calling games. We'll do that in a couple of weeks. All right, let's get to the latest in college football. Of course, Will Howard having the great game at Ohio State. Some notion that potentially that's a coveted spot for the future, but apparently not for their backup quarterback. Devin Brown has decided to go to Cal. He was their number 2 quarterback. He wants to start, and he has 2 years of eligibility, so he bails from OSU and heads out to the West Coast. The class of 2025 quarterback, Autori Newkirk, commits to North Carolina. Good news for Bill Belichick that he gets the quarterback that he was looking for the upcoming season and beyond. And also some sad news from college sports and also from broadcasting as well. Pete Medhurst, the longtime voice of Navy football, passed away at the age of 55 from a brain tumor. Now, in the National Basketball Association, the Phoenix Suns are collecting first-round picks. There's some speculation that they're looking to upgrade at the trade deadline, perhaps Jimmy Butler, who we'll get to in just a second, because last night the Miami Heat fell short without Tyler Hero against the lowly Portland Trailblazers. The final 116-107. This was the Blazers' 6th road win of the season. A quiet game once again for Jimmy Butler, as rumors still surround him in a possible trade. He was asked about his effort level again after the game yesterday. Head coach Eric Spoelstra said it was not just about him.
Typically in cases like this, there'll be times when someone is down and your leading man will take over and do a little bit more. Jimmy's effort tonight seemed a bit languid. He wasn't there on the floor at the finish. How are you working through this level of Jimmy that you've gotten since his return?
It is. I know what you're trying to get out of me. You're not going to get anything worthwhile. It was not a very inspiring, first 3 quarters, by the whole group. So it's tough to pinpoint one person in that. I was subbing, getting deeper into the rotation. Just nothing really seemed to take hold until we got to that last group. That was probably the most inspiring group. And I believe Pell got that steal. That was an opportunity to get it to 5. And that was finally the building was moving and shaking a little bit. And that was because of what the guys were doing on the floor.
Tough night once again for the Heat, and a great night again for Nikola Jokic, his 19th triple-double of the season, having another MVP year. The Nuggets beat the 76ers final 144. That's right, 144-109. The Joker had 27 points, 13 rebounds, 10 assists, and didn't even play in the fourth quarter. Not the first time that's happened this season, according to their head coach, Mike Malone.
I often say it, the best player in the world. And how many games, you guys should know this, how many games in a row is that where he and Russ didn't play in the fourth quarter? 4 in a row, right? And that's huge. I mean, obviously, we're a little more than halfway point in the season. And for him not have to play down the stretch to rest his body, for Russ to have a chance to rest his body, that's invaluable as we move forward. We know what the Western Conference is, how deep it is, how talented it is, and things are just getting started. I love the fact that we're playing at a high level. It was nice to win a game at home. We've done a great job on the road. We got to do a better job protecting our house, and we did that tonight against, a team that's struggling. But we know that, when they're healthy, they're a pretty talented team in Philadelphia. But Nikola is just incredible. He impacts the game across the board. But the great thing about it, he's getting contributions from a lot of people. We talk about Nikola a lot, but Aaron Gordon and Julian off the bench were outstanding tonight. Michael Porter was super efficient. We had 39 fast break points. Christian Brown just running and finishing. So it's a good team win. We did a lot of really good things tonight, and it's great that we didn't have to play those guys.
144 points for Denver. Impressive game last night. Also, great game for LeBron James as he had 21 points, 13 assists, 10 rebounds, triple-double. They beat the Wizards by a final of 111-88. All right, now let's get to some college basketball. Bad news for Arkansas. That's been the case for the majority of the season for John Calipari in his first season there. Boogie Fland, the nice young freshman that they have who's averaging 15 points a game, is probably going to be out for the season with a hand injury, so bad news for them. Joshua Jefferson, meanwhile, 30 points, number 3 Iowa State, runs past UCF final 108-83. Their head coach, TJ Olzerberger, for the second straight week, does a press conference saying that the team is boring. I don't know what's boring about 108 points.
Yeah, no, I think our guys, again, we're boring. We do the same thing every day. We trust the habits and the work that we do. So we don't overreact one way or another. We have belief in our guys' ability to make shots and knock them down. And it was great to see, guys step up and do it with confidence today, because it was important that we did that. And then we worked for it and we proved it to ourselves. So proud of our guys for doing it.
In the SEC, Tennessee now 11-0 on the season at home. Speaking of boring, they beat Mississippi State 68-56, the final in a low-scoring game there. Ohio State ended their 3-game losing streak 73-70. They beat number 11 Purdue. For more on some college hoops, stick with us because Michael DeCourcy is going to join us next. Some sporting news. We'll recap some of the games and preview a couple tonight. So stay with us here on The Grid. We'll be right back.
One of the weirdest nicknames I've heard in fighting. There's people have some strange nicknames at times, but the Lemon Killer. What do you even make of that? What is that about?
I don't even know what that means, but I'm gonna squeeze him like a lemon on the day we fight, and he's gonna pop.
Only on SportsGrid.
What if he gets Kellen Moore? CS guy, right? He was like supposed to be the coach in waiting when he was the offensive coordinator. Is that enough? Like, does Jerry pull the trigger for that? Or does he pull the trigger for Dion?
Mike McCarthy would have not let this play out this way unless he had a job. So I think McCarthy already has the New Orleans job.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York team has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We all know MVPs don't win the Super Bowl. It's not about MVPs, man. The only MVP, fine. Win the MVP at the Super Bowl. Nobody cares about the MVP of the regular season besides people that bet on it, the actual player themselves, and their agent that's getting a cut of the bonus money. Other than that, who cares? What do you care who wins the MVP? Like I said, unless you bet on it. Right? If you bet on it, fine. Then I guess you care.
Sports Rage tonight. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish, joined by Michael DeCourcy of Sporting News. We'll recap some of the games in the college basketball universe. And Mike, great to have you back here on NewsWire. Really appreciate you coming on. Let's start off with Roll Tide. Another 100 points for them. This should not be a surprise. They wipe out Vandy 103-87. Another nice game from Mark Sears, one of the best college basketball players in the country. 21 points, 7 assists, hit most of his free throws as well. Alabama's, certainly one of those teams that in the end, with the amount of points they score and when their offense is humming, they're going to be tough to beat over the next few months.
Well, they were my preseason pick to win the championship, Craig. But the one thing that has to happen for them to fulfill that, and certainly they have the offensive talent to do that, is you have to be better on defense than they've been. And I'm not talking about giving up 87 points to Vandy. If you're scoring 110, the other team's going to probably score a lot. It's not really so much about that. It's how efficient you are, how much how effective you can be at getting big stops. I think they did a really nice job of that in the Kentucky game over the weekend. Again, you win 102 to 97. That's a huge victory over a great offensive team, but you have to have a more efficient defense than they've shown. Very few teams have gone into the NCAA tournament at the level where Alabama is on Ken Palm's defensive efficiency chart. Last time I looked, they were around 47. If you're not top 20, at least by the time you get halfway through the tournament, you're probably not going to win those last couple of games. So they've made a lot of progress with their offense. They're a great basketball team, but the defense has to be tighter as they go through. And it's not easy to do that in this league. No. The SEC is an amazing conference. Not going to be easy, but it also gives you the opportunity to challenge yourself constantly against teams that are elite offensively.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And again, that's a good point by you. And we'll see if their defense gets better as the season goes on. Certainly in March, it's got to be better than what it has been. Meanwhile, Texas, another team in the SEC, certainly with an outside shot, not just to make the tournament, but to go on a deep run. Their defense has been very good. They win 61-53 yesterday, the final. So what do you make of Texas? And is this upcoming schedule going to maybe teach us a little bit more about what we can potentially expect moving forward?
Yeah, I think they showed last night that they can be exceptional defensively. They basically wiped every solid Missouri player off the floor. Caleb Grill, Mike Mitchell. No one got anything done for the Tigers. And now what Texas has to do in order to get themselves squarely in the tournament picture, and anybody, as NC State showed last year, anybody that's in there that has a reasonable amount of talent can make a run. I don't think we could ever say that's not possible after what we saw from the Wolfpack a year ago. And certainly Texas has a reasonable amount of talent. So getting in is a lot of the trick. And getting in against this SEC, again, is where the problem lies. Because Texas does not have a number of high-level victories. Last night would certainly qualify as one that will help them because it's a team that's almost certainly going to be in the tournament. So Texas needs more of that. And they're going to have to be able to take this defense on the road. They say defense always travels. Texas hasn't always packed its bags with the D included. So that's something that they're going to have to do when they resume going on the road in the SEC.
Yes, so many dangerous teams in the SEC. And look at these records. I mean, Mike, certainly the beginning of the season, you get some cupcakes, but this is incredible to see 15 or more wins from 7 different teams in the SEC. I mean, you really can go down as far as Tennessee, maybe even to think that they have a shot to win the conference. I mean, it's really strong. And I think that we're going to find out a lot more tonight, by the way, about one of these teams as Ole Miss takes on Texas A&M. They're 3.5-point favorites this evening. This is just a huge game for Mississippi. If they can win this one, Mike, you know that this could push them up in the standings and the rankings as well. They've been fantastic this season, but I don't know if there's a ton of believers in them out there right now. This would change that.
I look at this game as a game that decides if there's going to be right now we have Auburn, which is unbelievably successful. Alabama, we talked about. Tennessee, Kentucky, and then Florida. Right now, if you said, okay, you can have those 5 or the field, you wouldn't get anybody taking the field in terms of who's going to win the SEC. If there's going to be another team that challenges that quintet, and puts itself into the conversation, at least, for the SEC regular season title, it comes from the winner of tonight's game. Texas A&M missed Wade Taylor for 3 games, lost 2 of them. That's half their losses on the season. The last 5 times they've played high major opponents with Taylor in the lineup, won by an average of 10 points. So he makes an enormous difference. He's an outstanding player. Ole Miss's offense is not great, but their defense can be absolutely suffocating at times, and we've seen them do that, not just to teams that are in their weight class, but outstanding teams. We've seen them able to apply that, which they did in the Alabama game. I believe that was a week ago. So they can use that defense to hang with anybody. I think tonight's tonight's game, and it's not going to be easy to call that, but tonight's game, I think, will decide whether there is a sixth team that hangs in the SEC regular season race.
Well, you mentioned the Gators. The Gators had a crushing loss, home loss, which doesn't happen that often last week. They dropped down to 5 in the rankings, but there's a chance for them to jump right back up. I know that South Carolina is certainly one of the bottom teams in the SEC this season. Florida 10.5-point favorites tonight, total of 144.5. It sure seems as though that home loss to Missouri last week is the only blip on their radar all season long. Do you expect them to come out and win this one big tonight?
Yeah, I think they have to, Craig. One of the things that Florida has done really well this season is defeat teams that are basically below them in the rankings, below them in Ken Palm, whatever you want to talk about. That's where this Florida team has excelled, is beating teams that are not quite as good as them. They haven't had enough opportunities against the absolute best for them to really tell us what they can do when they play the Auburns and the Alabamas and such. They went to Kentucky and were very competitive, but did not win. So that they haven't had a ton of those, and they don't have a ton remaining. Of that quintet that I talked about, the other 4, they only have 3 more games remaining against those teams. So they have to take care of games like tonight in order to keep their standing in the SEC, but also relative to NCAA tournament seeding.
I think that's fair. Mike, we'll see if the Gators win tonight. That's the game that I'll be watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks again for coming on NewsWire.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, we'll take a quick time out and preview the Bills and Chiefs coming up next.
Saturday, January 25th is a huge day at Gulfstream Park. It is Pegasus Cup Day. We're going to have a preview show. First Bet presents the DRF handicapping show for Pegasus World Cup. Alexa, tell us more.
Yep, Friday, January 24th. Make sure to tune in on SportsGrid TV from 2 to 3 p.m. to see the show. If you miss it then, don't worry. It airs again on Saturday at 11 a.m. We're going to talk about all the major contenders in the Pegasus Cup.
Special guests Bailey Armour, Samantha Perry, and Randy Moss will join us. Don't miss it.
This guy Ovechkin, how he was injured and missed all that time, and the fact that he's still on pace to pass Gretzky.
I think everybody's rooting for Ovechkin at this point in time, and I think he'll do it as well. So it's a feat that no one ever thought Scotty would be broken. It's going to be broken, and it's probably going to be broken because he's not going to stop shooting.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We're headed toward a classic AFC championship on Sunday night. Kansas City Chiefs and Buffalo Bills will go at it one more time. Of course, here on NewsWire, we've got a full preview, so let's get it going. It's time now for the SportsGrid Sound Off. All right, as of right now, Chiefs are 1.5-point favorites going into the AFC Championship on Sunday night. Naturally, we'll have it covered for you here on SportsGrid. Our guys have some great shows ready for you this Sunday. And then, of course, we're headed to the Super Bowl in New Orleans. But first, before we get to the Super Bowl, got to figure out who's going to get there. So here's a little tidbit as to what you can expect from one of our prognosticators here at SportsGrid. This time it is Joe Lisi. He's got a preview of the AFC title game.
AFC Championship game doesn't get better than this. Kansas City and Buffalo, the rematch in the regular season, in which the Buffalo Bills did get the 9-point win over the Chiefs 30-21. In that game, Josh Allen broke out with a dynamic performance, 200-plus yards through the air, 56 yards on the ground, and the one big touchdown run en route to the 9-point victory. Last game, you saw Josh Allen only 127 yards through the air, but he did have 2 rushing touchdowns en route to the 2-point win over Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. All Kansas City does is win, baby. They grind out another win by 9 points over the Houston Texans. They blocked the field goal, which allowed the Chiefs to cover. This is going to be a dynamic atmosphere, a dynamic game. Josh Allen has not beaten the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs just yet. Line open up. Kansas City a 1.5-point favorite. Total is 47.5. Early on, I'm taking the points with the Buffalo Bills. I expect them to win outright. Now, Craig, back to you.
It could be a point by the time the game kicks off on Sunday. Points is being generous right now. The line is 1.5 over on FanDuel. Meanwhile, the head coaches of both Kansas City and Buffalo meeting with the media yesterday for the first time. Of course, they'll meet all week long. Andy Reid, no stranger to this game, no stranger to championship games, no stranger to Super Bowls as well, talking about how Buffalo could potentially be favored in this game because of the fact that the first 2 times these teams played, Buffalo won and beat Kansas City.
Coach, on that front, this round of the playoffs, you know, the Bills are your second chance to try to get you guys in this round. You didn't get through right away at Philadelphia. What is it about this round? I know you're playing a good team, but is there anything else about this round that is special over the others?
Yeah, well, the fact that we're at home is a real positive, I think. We've got to play well. I know, whether we're favored or not favored, I don't know. I presume they'll probably be favored, but that's all right. We do our thing as we go into this, and we don't worry about all that noise. So, but it's a high level of football, and you've got to handle it that way. You know, I mean, you get to test yourself, and at close to the highest level. Besides Super Bowl, this is the highest level. So I think that's kind of what it's all about for coaches and players.
Could be a classic matchup on Sunday night, very similar to what we saw between Buffalo and Baltimore last week. Meanwhile, Joe Brady has his hands full. He, of course, is the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. Certainly the challenge is not as it has been in the past. The Chiefs' defense has been playing fantastic all season long. Buffalo's offense left a little bit to be desired, I would say, against Baltimore. So Joe Brady, again, OC, knows it's time to get things clicking in advance for Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're kind of at the point of the year where, you know, all the teams kind of know each other, and you know it's and so you're having to making sure that you're not doing too much to put too much on your guys' plate, and you want to make sure you can allow them to play, but you also got to make sure that you're giving them a chance to. And so there's that fine line of making sure you try to make it look a little different, you know, to the defense, but it's the same for us. And you know, that's, you know, I'm fortunate that we have an incredible coaching staff, both in the run game and the pass game, to, you know, to help me kind of put together a game plan where, we can kind of do the same things, but they can kind of look a little differently.
Kansas City's kind of been the one team you've not always had a tremendous amount of success running the ball against. What makes them, that scheme and that front, a little more challenging to kind of get some sustained success in the running game?
Yeah, I mean, they have the best player in football, right? Best defensive player in football, Chris Jones. I mean, he is as dynamic as they come, and they have 11 guys that play together as a defense and all understand their scheme, and they're extremely well coached. When you got really good players and really good scheme and coaching, you know, it makes it really hard. And so it's going to be a great opportunity, a great challenge for us this week.
See if Joe Brady becomes a head coach in this cycle, with a couple of names pulling out of contention. Up next, Pat Evans joins us courtesy of Legal Sports Report right after the break.
Saturday, January 25th is a huge day at Gulfstream Park. It is Pegasus Cup Day. We're going to have a preview show. First Bet presents the DRF handicapping show for Pegasus World Cup. Alexa, tell us more.
Yep, Friday, January 24th. Make sure to tune in on SportsGrid TV from 2 to 3 p.m. to see the show. If you miss it then, don't worry. It airs again on Saturday at 11 a.m. We're going to talk about all the major contenders in the Pegasus Cup.
Special guests Bailey Armour, Samantha Perry, and Randy Moss will join us. Don't miss it.
This guy Ovechkin, how he was injured and missed all that time, and the fact that he's still on pace to pass Gretzky.
I think everybody's rooting for Ovechkin at this point in time. And I think he'll do it as well. So it's a feat that no one ever thought Scotty would be broken. It's going to be broken, and it's probably going to be broken because, you know, he's not going to stop shooting.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire. Pat Evans is with us from LegalSportsReport.com. You can read all about what's going on in the world of sports betting, the legalization, different news, notes, and information over at LegalSportsReport.com as we bring in Pat. Pat just told us during the break that in Michigan, he woke up to temperatures of -6. Is that the case? -6? I've seen 6 before. I don't know. I've seen -6. That's
yeah. It's a little brisk up here in Michigan. You know, it's I don't know. There's a lot of snow, lake effect stuff off of Lake Michigan. It's been bad. The roads are terrible, so I'm staying inside, staying warm. Wishing I was in shorts down in your 50-degree weather, Craig. That's all I can say.
That is true. It's very gloomy here today. I will say, by the way, I'm nowhere near. Yeah, gloomy. That's the worst I can say. I will say I'm nowhere near where it did snow. It has snowed in Tallahassee and Pensacola and a lot in North Florida, which is like super rare. So the good news is that people are smart enough by now to say, hey, did it snow by you? I'm like, this is like 10 hours away from me. Like, it's nowhere near. But anyway, that's it.
Now, I saw a photo that there was an oil rig with snow on it, which seems crazy. So I don't know.
Yeah.
You could get snow. Who knows? Who knows?
I mean, Orlando would be the best. Anyway, people are tuned in to us to learn about sports betting. They're not here for the weather. So let's get into it here. Massachusetts, the next state here in the United States that wants to raise sports betting taxes. And ironically, they're choosing the same exact number that New York has. We predicted this last year. You and I talked about this a ton, that once New York got that 51%, we didn't know that every other state would get to 51%. And certainly the revenue of New York is different than a lot of the other states for sure. But Massachusetts is the next one on deck. You think they get this all the way up from 20 to 51%?
I don't. And you're right. I mean, besides us, the whole industry has been looking at states looking to raise their taxes. So this is not a surprise. In fact, Senator John Keenan, the person who introduced this massive bill in Massachusetts, actually tried to raise the taxes through a budget amendment last year to 51%, and it quickly was voted against by many of the other lawmakers in Massachusetts. This bill, along with raising it to 51%, the tax rate, includes many of the other parts that the Safe Bet Act at the federal level includes, including banning prop bets and in-play bets, setting wagering limits so you can't wager more than $1,000 in a day or $10,000 in a month, It prohibits sports betting ads during sports events. It adds bonuses and single game parlays to unfair and deceptive practices by sports books. So it's a really big limiting bill to the industry. So, of course, the industry is not a big fan of it. Again, it replicates the Safe Bet Act at the federal level, which, you know, we've seen the scrutiny at the federal level last month, starting with the U.S. Senate hearing, which we can assume there's going to be more because they hinted at more. And in that hearing, they talked a lot about the Safe Bet Act and how this is stuff we need to focus on and put into a national framework for the industry. And so there are lawmakers out there, certainly at the federal level and clearly at the state level, that are trying to do this. I mean, this is fairly similar to the bill that we've talked about in Minnesota, which, of course, they're trying to just simply legalize. But we've got, you know, the opponents who are also trying to make sure responsible gambling, maybe to a bad extent, are trying to get this in. So based on Keenan's success last year, which wasn't, you know, he had his amendment to 51% tax rate voted against. With this, along with 51% and everything else, seems like an even bigger reach. But maybe that's his goal, is to say, hey, maybe we take some of these other things off and just get bigger tax rate, maybe not 50%, maybe 40%, whatever it ends up through discussions. But it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of appetite. But we'll see. But Massachusetts, certainly a big discussion state. You know, we talk about the Massachusetts Gaming Commission, which meets multiple times a month. A lot because they're very active. And just today we saw some online casino bills come through in Massachusetts. So Massachusetts is going to be a very active state this session, I think. So we'll be talking about it a lot this coming couple months.
All right, some potential changes also in the Northeast, and these are some that are coming in Connecticut, not of the tax variety, but some of the hold variety. So, Pat, let's explain exactly what that is and why Connecticut is trying to get this done.
Yeah, there's a lawmaker up in Connecticut who just filed, it was 5 bills, just kind of to clean up the initial Sports Betting Act, one of which is setting a maximum hold. He doesn't set a number, which I think is kind of interesting. He's just like, hey, let's put a maximum hold, which is how much money the sports books can keep winning, essentially. And I think through the lifetime since it launched in 2021 is about 10.4%, which, when you look at kind of the national averages, that's pretty on par. So you got to wonder where they would put that number then. Is it 10%? Who knows? So there's that. Another one of the 5 is allowing users to be able to opt out of seeing certain bets, which I thought was kind of interesting. Then there was cleaning up language if a sports book recognizes an error, they have to notify the bettor, they have to void it, they have to refund it. So just kind of cleaning up that language. And then also of note is, you know, he filed a bill to allow for interstate or in-state collegiate betting. So that has not been allowed in Connecticut, which, you know, I can imagine come March, UConn fans would probably want to get some action down on the Huskies.
Oh, yeah.
They can't do that, but this bill would allow for that. So these are 5 bills that are going to kind of see where they go, what happens. Unlike this giant bill in Massachusetts, this is 5 separate bills, so each one can go their own way, and it's not all packaged together to see what happens. So it'll be interesting to see which ones kind of get through. Maybe they all do, maybe none do, maybe 1 or 2 do. Who's to say? Again, another bill was filed that came through today, which was also interesting, especially given the DraftKings and what was it, Delta? I forget which airline Delta they partnered with. This bill was filed to allow for in-air betting in Connecticut, which I don't know how that works out. I haven't read the bill yet. That seems to open a lot of can of worms with crossing borders and whatnot. So it'll be interesting to see what actually comes of that, if anything. So a lot of bills again filed in Connecticut. So a lot of action is going to be up here in the Northeast, and I think we'll talk probably Monday about some of the bills and stuff filed in New York. Lots of stuff going on there. So the Northeast is going to be very active in the session this year. What it all means and what passes and what kind of discussion points come out of it will certainly be interesting.
Yeah. Place your bets while in the air in Connecticut. You have exactly 8 minutes before we fly over. I mean, you're right. That's going to be an interesting story. And that's, by the way, it's going to happen this year. We're going to be up for that this year. There's going to be some betting in the air. We know that's coming. All right. New Speaker of the House or new House representative in Texas appears to be pro sports betting. So there is some optimism that the state of Texas makes a little bit of a step forward. Long way to go here. Not even sure 2025 is in play, but definitely the more that are involved, it just does signal that these two states that are out there, California and Texas, those are the big ones left that all of the sports betting providers are waiting to see that if they get legalized or not.
Yeah, this one's really interesting. As we know, the Senate is the big hurdle. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick's not letting up. His strong point is the GOP platform in Texas is anti-gambling. We're not moving until, if there's more Democratic support than Republican support, we're not taking a bill up in the Senate. So that's there. But in the House, we have a new speaker because there was a runoff between a far-right faction and the more moderate faction. Dustin Burrows, the moderate Republican, won support to be the Speaker of the House. What's interesting is he voted against the sports betting bill in 2023 that passed. However, he got way more Democratic support than Republican support to be the Speaker of the House. So that opens up that bipartisanship that will be needed to get any sort of movement in a sports betting bill in Texas. What that means in the Senate, we'll see. But it does kind of open up certain flexibility for some of those moderate Republicans to say, hey, we do like this sports betting bill because it does a lot of good for the state to regulate and keep it in the clean air. We'll see what ultimately happens. Senate still the major issue, but the House seems to remain open because it did pass in 2023.
Well, once Dan Patrick is on board, I have a feeling this goes through, but you're right, probably not until then. All right, Pat, have a great rest of your week. We'll catch up again on Monday. Thanks for coming on NewsWire.
Thanks as always, Craig. Stay warm.
All right. Coming up next, Simon Applebaum joins us. So the podcast tomorrow will be televised. What were the ratings like in the NFL over the weekend? Tell you next.
Saturday, January 25th is a huge day at Gulfstream Park. It is Pegasus Cup Day. We're going to have a preview show. First Bet presents the DRF handicapping show for Pegasus World Cup. Alexa, tell us more.
Yep, Friday, January 24th. Make sure to tune in on SportsGrid TV from 2 to 3 p.m. to see the show. If you miss it then, don't worry. It airs again on Saturday at 11 a.m. We're going to talk about all the major contenders in the Pegasus Cup.
Special guests Bailey Armour, Samantha Perry, and Randy Moss will join us. Don't miss it.
This guy Ovechkin, how he was injured and missed all that time, and the fact that he's still on pace to pass Gretzky.
I think everybody's rooting for Ovechkin at this point in time, and I think he'll do it as well. So it's a feat that no one ever thought Scotty would be broken. It's going to be broken, and it's probably going to be broken because Scotty, he's not going to stop shooting.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Just how many folks were watching the NFL this weekend? I know if you're watching our shows here at SportsGrid, you probably were watching SportsGrid on one screen, the games on the other screen. But let's get the results from the divisional round as we bring in Simon Applebaum on the podcast tomorrow. Will be televised. We'll also talk a little bit about some sports over on TNT and Max as well. Simon, thanks for coming on the show. Let's kind of go through it here a little bit. I know that records were broken for this year for a lot of the divisional round games. I guess I'm surprised to hear that going into that game, despite what the result was, that Buffalo-Baltimore game wasn't the highest-rated division game of all time. I get why do you think that was? Was it a dull game for a while there? Is that potentially why? I thought this would be the top-rated game ever in the playoffs.
I thought so too, Craig. As a matter of fact, it was the top-rated game of this season, and certainly for CBS, 42.2 million people saw it. However, it was down 16% from the Sunday night game last year. That was the real shocker. And there wasn't big competition like there was Monday night for the college football championship game with the presidential inauguration events, Martin Luther King Jr. birthday, and so on and so forth. As it turns out, so far, of the 10 games that have been played in the playoffs, wild card round, divisional round, 8 of them, 8 out of 10, are down from last year. In terms of the divisional round, ABC ESPN was the only one that was actually up from last year at 32.7 million. The Commander game on Fox against the Lions, 33.6 million. That was down about 10% from a year ago. The Saturday night time period. The Sunday afternoon game that preceded the Bills Ravens, that was the Rams the Eagles on NBC and Peacock, 37.8 million. So on the one hand, they're solid numbers. On the other hand, it continues this idea of the games being down from where they were a year ago. However, we still got the championship weekend coming up, and I have a hunch that that is going to perhaps have a great chance to turn around given the matchups.
Yeah, I am surprised to hear that because the games were good, the matchups were good, and really the first of the 4 games, Houston-Kansas City, was the only dull game. Every other game was high scoring, very interesting, intriguing, down to the wire, I guess you could say. So I guess you're right. I guess we'll see what happens Sunday night because you can't get a better matchup than what we have Sunday night between Kansas City and Buffalo. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's dive in now to TNT and Max. They finally launched this unrivaled women's basketball league this past weekend. What do you make of it? Do you think people are going to check it out?
I think they could. For example, it is 3-on-3 football. Let's explain this first of all. Unrivaled is 3-on-3 full court. That's full court as opposed to half court that Big 3 basketball does in the summer. They have a lot of the WNBA stars, including Angel Reese. Caitlin Clark is not involved with it. They are playing in one place in Florida. Which holds about, they wanted like 900,000 people that saw the first doubleheader this past Friday night. The problem with TNT was, I think the production values were solid. This guy, Brandon, is a very good play-by-play person. Lisa Leslie was wonderful. Candace Parker was used in the pregame, postgame, etc. The problem with TNT was they didn't promote this opening doubleheader. No on-air promos, no press conferences, no nothing. And this is not just with TNT, what they've done with this league, but also with the National Hockey League playoff games. They've got the same Cup Finals, by the way, coming up. With the college football playoff games that they got in the first round, the French Open they've got. They seem to have this habit of, it's not NBA, we don't promote it. And that could be a big problem. So as a result, about 313,000 people saw one or the other game or both. It's better than what they usually do with TNT sports events. By the way, it was on TNT, True TV, and Max. The Max numbers are not in there. But if Unrivaled is going to work, they've got to do a far better job promoting this league. I think this league's got a great chance. I like the way it works. I like the fourth quarter situation where you go to a certain point level. If you get it, you win, or you go over, you win. I like the fact the players are really into it. I thought the play was really good. There's more emphasis on layups and shots from close to the basket as opposed to the three-point shot. So I think Unrivaled, if it keeps on going the way it's going, I think it could be a really good league. And also, at some point, they've got to have the league have teams that are attached to different cities. This is what happens with Athletes Unlimited, where you have teams, but you don't have cities involved. I think at some point they do have to have the cities involved so that you build up the fan base.
All right, well, we'll see if that succeeds. The other interesting note yesterday from the world of streaming was to see, I believe, Simon, this is the second time in a year that Netflix, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, made the announcement that they're raising prices again. And maybe part of this is the fact that they're having such success with these live sporting events that cost a lot of money to produce. The Jake Paul versus Tyson, doing NFL games, having games, the FIFA Women's World Cup. I mean, these are all things that cost money. The roast of Tom Brady. They're having a lot of success, Simon. But, with that comes a price hike. People are already paying a lot for streaming services. I wonder if they'll jump on board for this too.
Well, they're going to raise the ad tier $1. That's it. The other one's going to be maybe a couple of dollars more. So it's interesting to see whether more people from the ad-free tier go to the ad tier. I was on the Netflix investor call yesterday where Netflix had a blowout quarter. They had 19 million people subscribed to Netflix around the world the last 3 months of this year. And everybody the analysts were expecting anywhere from 9 to 10 million. The stock shot up. As a matter of fact, when it started today, Netflix stock, $1,000 a share on Wall Street at 9:30 this morning Eastern time. Ted Sarandos made it very clear, because a couple of questions came out about, are you going to do more regular season sports rights? You're going to bid for the major league and so forth. He made it very clear the economics are way too tough. We're not going to go after full regular season or playoff contracts. However, he did suggest that they're going to go after individual events. So I could see, for example, maybe adding a primetime NFL Christmas Day game, maybe a college football bowl game. Remember, I mentioned earlier this month that ESPN's bowl games, a lot of the major bowl games and minor games, are their sports rights end this season at the end of 2025. So Netflix has a chance, along with Prime Video, maybe Apple TV and others, to get individual bowl games like the Gator Bowl or the Cotton Bowl or the Independence Bowl and so forth. So I think Netflix is going to go after individual events. For example, the Daytona 500, I think would be a marvelous thing. And also one other thing, Raw, Monday night, 5 million viewers in the U.S. alone. That is more than double what it was averaging the last couple of years on USA Network. And we may even see a UFC event, given that WWE and UFC are both in the same basket. UFC might be a possibility for down the road at Netflix.
All right, let's close it out, Simon. This weekend used to be the wildly popular X Games many, many years ago. It's dropped in popularity significantly. Roku's trying to revive this thing. Feels like the last stand for the X Games.
Very much so. And it may be more to the summer games than the games that start in the winter in Aspen tomorrow, which happens to be my birthday, by the way. Let's see what happens with Roku. They're taking it all out to make it happen.
All right, Simon, happy 30th birthday. Appreciate you coming on the show, and we'll catch up again next week. Thanks for coming on.
You got it, Craig. Take care.
You know, they have a lot of hopes, and they thought last year they were turning the corner. Even early this year, they start turning the corner, and then you lose 13 games in a row.
Edmonton chipped away, got a late goal, won the game 4-3. I felt like they dominated the third period. They moved the puck on that power play. It was an exceptional hockey game. It went over the total.
Only on SportsGrid.
This guy Ovechkin, how he was injured and missed all that time, and the fact that he's still on pace to pass Gretzky.
I think everybody's rooting for Ovechkin at this point in time, and I think he'll do it as well. So it's a feat that no one ever thought Scotty would be broken. It's going to be broken, and it's probably going to be broken because Scotty, he's not going to stop shooting.
Pharrell, coast to coast, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Before we get to some last licks, we'll have Brady Cannon on the show talking golf and the Farmers Insurance Open, which is getting ready to start here, I believe, in about 30 minutes. Great golfer Will Zalatoris has withdrawn from the Farmers Open. Those of you who are betting on golf, if you've heard any advice or simply betting on it, make sure you get him out of any of your lineups that you have for this week or any betting on FanDuel and DraftKings. All right, let's get to some last licks. We've got the latest from Bills Mafia. Also, a very big baseball card has been found And what is the latest on Jimmy Butler? Time now for some last licks. All right, let's get started with Jimmy Butler. He's still a member of the Miami Heat. He's still playing for the Miami Heat, although he may be sending us signals that he does not want to play for the Heat. He doesn't even need to send signals. I mean, the guy basically said that he wants a trade and he wants out of Miami, but thus far they have not been able to complete a trade. Yesterday, the Phoenix Suns acquired some first-round picks. Should it be a coincidence that Jimmy Butler yesterday just happened to be wearing some purple sneakers, looking like the Phoenix Suns? Well, there you go. I mean, if he can't make it any clear what he wants to do, this ought to do it. What a disastrous situation, by the way, to have this happen for any team when a player says that he wants to be dealt and then doesn't get dealt, and he's just kind of going through the motions with the Heat. I'm not saying that he doesn't want to play hard. I'm not saying that he's not playing well, but my gosh, the Heat has to find a way to make a deal and be done with these shenanigans. It's no fun anymore. Like, I understand. Jimmy's still a great player. Maybe he'll get this new contract, owed $52 million next season. Please, before February the 8th, find this guy a new home. Make it work, Heat. Make it work, Suns, Warriors, Rockets, someone else. All right, now this is a really nice story. And, you know, really tough being Mark Andrews these days. Let's just be honest, right? The tight end of the Baltimore Ravens. Andrews dropped the game-tying two-point conversion. He also fumbled and lost the ball as well. Right now, it would appear that Andrews is just, having a hard time, to say the least, because he hasn't spoken since after the game. But Bills Mafia did a nice thing. They donated to the Breakthrough Touchdown organization, which works towards curing and improving the lives of those dealing with type 1 diabetes. Really nice gesture made by the Buffalo Bills, donating to his charity. Remains to be seen what's going to happen here with Andrews, whether or not he returns to the Bills or somewhere else. They still, I think, got to get this worked out. But unfortunately, those plays that did occur, whether or not he won, those lost the game, they still, unfortunately, will live in infamy forever. All right, finally, let's get to the latest on baseball cards here. And this was a baseball card that was found by an 11-year-old in Southern California. What is it exactly? It's Paul Skeens' 1-of-1 jersey patch that was placed on his jersey by Topps. Immediately after his debut, it was removed and inserted into baseball card products, I believe the 2024 Topps Baseball. The Pirates offered what we would call a bounty for it. In fact, they offered a suite. They offered a chance to sit in Livy Dunn's suite. They offered season tickets for the next 30 years, a meet and greet, and all this fun stuff, a softball game, autographed jerseys, etc. No word on whether or not this young person, 11-year-old, is going to end up making this trade for this. But I think we probably would all agree that this Paul Skeens card is probably worth a minimum of $100,000. I'm going to guess it's even double that. I think the Pirates did a nice thing here. I think they made a nice offer. I don't think that they're getting this card back. That's just my guess, especially considering that Skeens is the single hottest baseball prospect, now player in baseball. His cards are worth a lot. Somebody asked me, what would I do? Would I give it to the Pirates? I mean, I'm in a different position covering baseball, but as a fan, no way. That thing is going on the auction. And again, you live in California. Do you want Pirates season tickets for the next 30 years? Like, that is the big ticket item. And then you're forced to sell the tickets all the time. This person's not moving from California to Pittsburgh to do this, but really cool item, and cool to see that it was finally found. And good that a kid found it, I think, too, 11-year-old in California. All right. That will do it for our show today. Thanks again to Simon Applebaum for the podcast. Tomorrow will be televised. Thanks again to Pat Evans from Legal Sports Report and Michael DeCourcy from Sporting News. Coming up next, Smiley's got you ready for the Farmers Open. His golf show's on deck. Following that, we got Scott Farrell Coast to Coast, 3 o'clock Eastern. All the college basketball previews, NBA and NHL as well. Game time decisions at 6, in-game live game date tonight at 8. And then Gabe, you know he'll be on the air tonight, as always, at 10 p.m. Eastern until 12 a.m. So stay on the grid for that as well. Also, thanks to our director, Luke, and for my producer, Frank, I'm Craig Mish. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I know I said it yesterday, but I'm going to double down again today. It is really cold out there for a lot of you, not for me. I'm looking in South Florida at 53 and cloudy. Not trying to make anybody jealous, but please, for those of you who are trying to brave this weather, this is about as cold as it's going to be for all of 2025 over the next day or two, or maybe even this weekend. Snow in Florida. Be careful out there, because I want to see you back here watching the show and streaming us here on the SportsGrid Network tomorrow. So have a great night, everyone. I'll see you at 11 a.m. Eastern on Thursday.